It's not quite like the north though. There's so many like houses and things, you know, compared to St. Anthony or whatever. Oh, shit. Look at that.
How do you guys find your stories? It's probably the most common question we get while filming this series, and yet honestly, I don't really have an answer. We just stumble across them. There's no way for me to explain this with words, so instead, I thought I'd just make an episode about it.
It's a huge ship. Why is it?
Why is it there?
Why is it there?
Let's go check it out.
This is. Oh, and there's a airplane too. Spirit of Harbor Grace. That must be one of those ones that flew across the Atlantic.
Let's go see.
Do you suppose they're connected? I feel like they're not connected.
Probably not.
Oh, I mean they're very close to each other.
Oh, there's a wheel.
Shoes aren't done. I was not prepared.
He was able to float his flights drone this morning. What did you yesterday?
Oh man, you're gonna love my drone shot from today.
This morning here, fucking like water, icy kind of shit. Yeah. You would have been here, you would have thought.
Francesco's famous. Fuck.
You gotta keep, the thing about ice, you gotta keep your feet cool all the time. You can't just try to fight it, because you're gonna eat shit.
Wow, it's really rusted, huh?
I was telling you that I came around and got away from it. Fucking nice, right?
That's perfect.
She's got some rust on her.
Yeah.
She's seen better days.
Oh, for sure.
Well, there's grass on it too. Do you see the grass on the roof?
Yeah.
There's grass. Like that thing's been there for a long time. Yeah, I wonder what it is though. Well, it's a ship, Francesco.
Well, yeah.
Wow. I agree. I don't see a name. I'm gonna call it Rusty. Old Rusty. There's got to be something. Is there a plaque?
Doesn't look like
There's
it.
a
Doesn't look
gazebo.
like it.
There's wetlands. I'm gonna call it wetlands. It is wet. I don't know. We'll have to find something.
Yeah, we'll go find out.
Come one, come all to see the spectacle that the Town of Harbor Grace website says draws in hundreds of visitors every year. That local internet critic Eric Cheek describes as cool. It's the big attraction, the main event, the SS Kyle. It is a passenger ferry rotting in the harbor here. And what else is there to say about it? No, really, what else is there to say about it? I'm like 2 sentences in, and honestly, I don't have anything more to say about this ship. Shit. What am I going to make this episode about?
Okay, so I looked up the boat. Or the ship. You're supposed to call it a ship. They get mad at you when you call it a boat. I'm probably going to call it a boat in the script, and we'll see how the comments come in about that.
SS Kyle.
So the SS Kyle, the ship that was in that water there, it's actually much more boring than I thought it was going to be. I'm not excited about the story I like. So I researched it. I would describe it as a generic passenger ferry, like a ferry.
Okay.
It's not, there weren't guns on it. It didn't do stuff. It did stuff, but it passenger ferried people, which is not a super exciting story. So obviously, I still want to tell this story.
Right.
It is it looks cool.
It looks cool.
I would like to take the drone
yeah.
over top. I think that would make, a worthwhile image.
Make sure we don't crash it because of the wind. But...
So, we're going to have to, go backwards on this, try to figure out something. I don't want to tell a story of a passenger ferry.
Absolutely.
That, to me, is not interesting. But regardless, we will probably have to tell its history. Mm-hmm. So...
Yeah, but let's try and make it not too boring for the viewers, I guess.
I'm a boring guy. What can I say? There's just, there just isn't really a story here.
Okay. I might have exaggerated a little bit. There's always more to the story. I think if you took even the most generic rock wall by the side of the highway and just went up to it and started filming, I bet you could find a story there too. So let's look at the history of this boat. The Kyle was built in England in 1913 as part of a merchant fleet owned by the same monopolistic industrialist that owned just about everything in Newfoundland and Labrador at that time. For the next 55 odd years, the ship lived an unassuming life doing exactly what she was intended to do, ferrying things. She ferried passengers to Labrador, soldiers to England, and sealers to the ice. And well, although no great individual story ever splashed across her bow, many people in this region felt that the ship was part of their community. She was a ship for the commoners, for the working man. In 1967, after 5 decades of crushing through the frozen Arctic Ocean, she was finally wounded beyond repair. Like most things here in Newfoundland, it was a storm that tore the Kyle down. She washed ashore in Harbour Grace, where she's been rotting in this harbor for almost as long as she was in service.
If the ship has no story, then the story has to be about the ship, right? Like, in a different way. It has to be about it being in that harbor or something. I mean, because there's a story behind it, I'm sure. Yeah. It's not the story of its life. I mean, that's clearly just history in some way, but I mean, it's been there for 60 years or something. Like, it's a really long, 50 years or whatever it is. It's been there a really long time, that harbor. And I guarantee everybody who's ever passed through there remembers it. Yeah. You know, or stopped, took a picture, whatever it might be. As ridiculous as that, tiny town is, I bet everybody knows that shit. And there's a story there, in my opinion. To me, I think the story is probably its presence. It's the fact that it's there. Because I'm sure that has led to something.
Well, I guess the first thing you think when you see it is like, why is it there? Really?
That's a very substantial ship. And it's got, I don't know if you can see from the shore there, but it's got like grass on it.
Oh yeah, on the top of it.
So like, it's not just been there for a while. It's grown into its own, like, it's become its own part of the landscape. So, yeah.
I feel like, do you think the people there are proud of it? Like, having it there?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a landmark, right?
You think so?
Absolutely. It's right next to they put the plane right up next to it, right? So clearly they're trying to get like a tourism connection, Yeah, good luck to that.
I know, right? Fly in from Europe to go check out the SS Kyle.
Yeah, 2.5 minutes of a photo.
I know, right?
No, but I bet a lot of people stop there. I bet almost every single person who's driven past that stopped.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
I doubt any of them learn the history, because that's not the point, right? And I think maybe that's where to go with the story, is that you don't need to know the history to see the ship, to have it as a symbol.
Right.
But the thing about the Kyle is that simply by being present here in the harbor, it almost gave it a new life. As far as things to talk about go, it's hard to avoid the giant dead ship in front of everybody's window. You can tell that the local tourism board really wants this ship to have a story. They want that explosive bit of text to sell it to potential vacationers. If only she'd done battle with German submarines or narrowly saved some Dutch princess or something. It would certainly help sell this video too. More people are clicking on Nazi Hunter than passenger ferry. But the reality is, Eric Cheek was right. There may not be much to this 4-star attraction, but it is cool to see a ship washed ashore. Driving by, we certainly stopped immediately.
Anyway, so that ship being in that harbor, it living its life and dying in the way that Newfoundlanders die, living in the way that Newfoundlanders live, I think is the true symbol. Because
it represents a normal life.
If it was really exciting, if it had done all these great things, it wouldn't be representative here, right? Because that's not what the life here is like. So if it,
sorry, but like,
no. I mean, not a lot is happening to the point that like a ship is not removed from the harbor for 50 years, even though it's like rotting out there, right? But that's the point. Like, if we're gonna make a documentary, if we're really telling the story of what happened here, is the story of what happened here not the everyday life of the worker, rather than the glory of some giant ship. So to me, I mean, the SS Kyle, I'm not going to say that when I read the story I got excited, but at the same time, looking at it, trying to present it in a new way, I think that's what it is. The silver lining, the eye of the beholder, whatever you want to call it, of this is our real life. So why wouldn't we show that as the symbol of it?
And it looks cool.
Oh, no, I just want to make it because there's a very cool ship. Right? Let's be clear. This is backtracking from a cool ship in a harbor to a script. So I don't know. It's I found a bunch of websites on it though. I found it like
They're trying
really hard.
famous.
They're trying really hard to make this famous,
I know, right?
which I respect because it's what they got.
I guess.
Which is what we were saying earlier. It's them. They're doing their best to say we've done something, we've got something. It's interesting over here, and I mean they are right. I'm not going to fly from Europe to come see it, but when we were there, absolutely they're right. You know?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think that's Newfoundland. Period.
It is.
Had you
really
heard
is.
about Newfoundland before coming here? I mean, for the
I
most
heard,
part,
but yeah, not really, no.
I mean, it's very much so the unassuming, hardworking,
Well, real people.
part of the world, and the SS Cow is a pretty good symbol of that, I think.
I absolutely agree. It's a good symbol for Newfoundland.
Want to go film some A-roll? Drive to a ship? It's like an hour away.
Woohoo!
Woo!
Now that I'm standing here though, I honestly can't imagine a better symbol for Harbor Grace than this ship. For all the weather of time, it still hosts the beauty of a bygone era. A memento to a world now lost, visible only to those few lucky enough to stumble across it. Nobody is flying across the planet just for this town or this ship, but few who see either are disappointed. The people of this region know they didn't much change history. The passengers of the Kyle weren't the names you'll learn in school, but I bet they were people worth knowing. We have such a fascination with the greatest, the biggest, the fastest, the first, that it can be easy to forget that there's a story in everything. And yet, when you come across something like this while driving through the countryside, you stop. Because it's a reminder that you don't have to be the first and the biggest to be cool. Just ask Eric Cheek. This is Rare Earth. And oh my God, I'm gonna die up here. Okay.
Actually, before I start editing this, come have a look.
What?
I need to show you something you did.
What did I do?
I'll make fun of it for the rest of my life.
What did I do?
Look at this.
It's the drone shot.
The drone shot.
It's the drone
Look at
shot.
this.
Oh well, fair enough.
You ready? It's harsh.
Oh yeah. This is a $28 drone shot.
So far, so
Is
good.
that what you're saying? Oh, what's that? Oh no. Well, that's disappointing. That's particularly disappointing.
Well, it is kind of disappointing.
It cost us $28 to get that shot. I'm just saying. You know,
28.
Better be worth it. Better be worth it.
Actually, though, before we finish this, Jonah, hand me the camera for a second. I got a new character.
Do you like? Is this a part of you? Yes. Yes, it is.
You were born like that?
Born that. Oh my god. That was a lot harder to pull down than I thought. Yeah, we want one of these.